Hello and welcome to another episode of Cyrils Brettspiele. In a nutshell, my name is Nils and today Nerdy Inventions. How cool is that to be a nerd? Mayday games. These days it's really cool to be a nerd. What's in the box? So you have the 6 cards here with dice numbers on it and this gear symbol. You have also 4 dice, even if you normally only need 3 dice. You have some cheat sheet cards, 4 for each player, 1 that will explain you all the invention actions. You have tool cards, 3 tool cards. That is just a little bit of helping this not starting player out a little bit. And you have invention cards. So what you're doing, and these invention cards are divided into starter cards like orange and later on cards. What you're doing is you're placing each single gear will get one of these cards here, and then on your turn what you are doing is you are taking 3 of these dice and roll these dice. So let's take a look at this here. So a 6 is always a joker, a wild thing, so you can use it for whatever you want. If there is on this card this little gear symbol, that means you have to use the number above. So perfectly you sort that out by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so you know exactly what you need. This card, for an example, needs 2 6s. I don't have 2 6s. Well, maybe I can use it later on. But keep in mind, each player has these starting inventions too. And this one is for player number 1. This one means simply you can reduce your die by -1. If you wanted to do it, take it from your player area and twist it. Now I would have a 2 into a 1 or a 6 into a 5. And take a look at this here. This needs a 5 and a 1, so I could do this by twisting it and getting another of these cards. You can have as many as you want. It doesn't matter. Whatever you need, you can have it. All the other ones right now I cannot afford. You can at some point running into a situation where you cannot buy an invention. That's okay. That can happen. You can do other stuff as well. And that is, for an example, with this 2. With a 2 you could swap either this or that. So you swap the 2 to your left and right to get it into a better position. Usually that's not an action you do a lot of. The more important action you will do is, once you use that, it's turned sideways. But at any point during your turn, you can spend a die that is equal or higher to this level 1 invention here to twist it back and refresh it. So I could use my 1 to refresh it and do it again. So I can do -2 on a die if I need to. So I could also take this card here. Simply by my first fresh card, I twist it, do out of a 6 a 5, use my 1 to refresh it, and then make a 5 to a 4 and refresh it again. As you can see, even if you think you don't have a lot of options, you always have. And these different symbols doing different things. So this is a -2, this allows you to swap cards, and so on. There are different symbols here. This is a funny thing that allows you to divide 1 die, for an example, the 6 here, into 2 different dice, say 2 and a 3. The sum has to, and a 4 of course. The sum has to be the same, so it must be a 6, but you can divide them. And now you can combine that with that and go it down to a 1, and you have a 1 and a 6 if you need to. Easy, and all of that you can do with these cards. As always, in a nutshell, after I explained the rules, I will talk about my personal experiences with this game. First of all, I have to say I had a little bit the fear of that you cannot do a lot of on your first turn when you really have a bad roll, like 3 1s, very unlikely, but if so, then you cannot do a lot of. And yeah, that is true. There are a couple of times where you can do nothing. If you really have, for an example, 2 6s and whatever, then you can do whatever you want because you have 2 wilds. So there's a significant, more than significant portion of luck in the game. Definitely yes. It's a game that, even if it says here on the box 25 to 30 minutes. I would say it's a little bit shorter. I would say it's 20 minutes. So it's a 20-minute game, and in a 20-minute game you expect a lot of luck. Yes. Is it really fun? Hard to say. I mean, if you really like to roll dice and try to deal with the output, yes, definitely. If you hate luck, of course, it's not a good game. What I personally like on it, and this is a little bit of a runaway leader issue for me for Nerdy Inventions. If you're rolling very, very, very bad on 2 turns, I had that once, on the first 2 turns, and you don't get what you want here to get your engine rolling, then the other players are getting really, really a good start out of the get-go, and you are stuck. But then they have more abilities to use their cards later on and getting even more points. By the way, speaking about points, these points are here, the level of invention. You add all of them together. If you have a set of 7 different ones, you get another bonus points, and that's it. So that is very easy in the rulebook. So as you can see here, if you have different inventions here, then you get bonus points. Let's say you're ending up with 10 different inventions, 10 different symbols, you get at least 6 bonus points. But again, if you're screwed in the first 2 rounds, which can happen, not really often, but it can happen, then you're completely out of the game. So this game has a little bit of a runaway leader problem, in my opinion, and that is not a lot of fun. However, it really feels good to play with these cards and manipulate the dice as you need them, and almost, I would say, in 90% of the dice rollings you have, you will find some way of, oh, I can use it like this, with this, and then can acquire this card. And that is a really good feeling, because you always feel smart when you combine all of these inventions, or when you're really screwed in the first 2 rounds and you have only this minus, minus, minus cards. Obviously, you cannot buy the higher cards, because usually these cards having these gear symbols on it. But when you do so, when you have that, and when you see, oh, wait, if I'm taking this, I need 3 2s here. Maybe I can bring down all of them to 2s by using a couple of them together, and then I have 3 2s. So now I can take the train. Then you're feeling pretty smart. And that is what the game Nerdy Invention is all about. You should feel smart when you play it, even if it's not a highly strategical game. Of course not, it's a 25-minute game or 20-minute game. If you can get your hands on it, please try it out. It's really a tiny little game. You can have a lot of fun with it, but it's not a strategic game. It's very driven by what you're rolling and deal with what your output of the roll is. That's what you have to expect from Nerdy Inventions. My name is Nils, Cyrils Brettspiele. This was another In a Nutshell edition with all my personal experiences from Mayday games. And I would say, see you next time. Until then, bye bye.